So we watched a new film on Screambox. This movie's actually a couple years old, but I guess it didn't hit the internet until this year. And this movie is called Landlocked. And this is a movie that was actually made by a family, and everyone in it is related for the most part, outside of a couple actors. But and Kaylee's the one that actually called this. She was like, "This person looks so much like this person."
Oh yeah, they all look alike.
Yeah. So this one is about a young man who comes home. His house is gonna get demolished, and he comes home to just kind of like, gather some belongings. And this is his childhood home,
hmm
and there's a lot of memories in there. And he finds this camera, VHS camcorder,
hmm
and when he starts to use it, he realizes he has the ability through this camera to place it in any place that he wants, move it around, walk around with it, whatever, and he can see the past. He has the ability to set the time, the date, whatever. And then he can film, and he gets obsessed with this and
Yeah.
starts creating multiple tapes and looks into his past. This film deals with some really interesting themes of, you know, lineage and like the memories that a specific place can hold for
Mm.
you, and letting go, and how hard that can be, and the lingering um memories of your life in a specific residence or place that holds such meaning to you. So it's interesting because it's a family that made it, because the concept is very cool, because I can tell that this film is so personal, because I really enjoy the idea of this film and what it's trying to convey, even though there's like no horror. It is science fiction. You could say thriller in certain tiny little things. Because when this opened, there's like found footage style footage of this dad who's like going to kill himself. And we were like, this is creepy as hell.
Yeah, we thought it was really creepy. Like the opening is very unsettling and eerie and very like Lake Mungo and
Yeah.
weird feeling, but it doesn't really keep that tone at all. Like it does continue to be weird for sure.
Yeah.
And surreal definitely, but not scary in the way that the opening felt scary.
No.
So it's not really, it's definitely not like a horror movie, but sci-fi and like a little bit of thriller for sure,
Yeah, mostly drama.
and mostly drama.
So, yeah, so I mean, realistically, but getting back to all of that, even though all of those things do work for me, and I respect the hell out of the movie for so many reasons, like because a family made it, because it seems like it is such a personal film to
hmm
them and to this writer director, to the whole cast, everything, the crew, all of it. They clearly, this is a passion project,
Yeah,
and you know, it conveys that very well.
yeah.
And so in that way, it's very successful. But on the other hand, it is kind of a chore to sit through. It is
hmm
kind of boring and repetitive
hmm
and doesn't really have anything going on in the whole middle. You got the opening, you've got the setup. That's cool and intriguing. Then you've got 45 minutes, because the movie's only about an hour and 10 minutes altogether without the credits. So it's a really short one, but you
Yeah.
got like 40-minute time span of this film where it's just literally him walking around, filming different parts of the house and seeing kind of like, have you ever been invited over to someone's house to watch their home movies?
Yeah. It's
It's basically that.
yeah.
And there's nothing interesting going on in the movies. It's really like relevant to their character,
Yeah,
but
it's
we don't really
definitely
know why, other than it's like this is his family and he just wants to see his family again. So it's like,
yeah.
but there's nothing that would work if there was some kind of dramatic hook going on where we we understood his relationship to this character or characters. We know who they are. We know who they are to him, but we don't know who they are to him and his life, right? So there's nothing there where we're like, we've gotten any context for why we're like connecting with this scene, like why this footage matters, why this is working us towards a goal in the end. It's just kind of like, and there's nothing really going on with him in those scenes. He's just kind of filming them and watching them. There's no like real raw emotion going on, and him kind of having conversations with himself, or like a a voiceover or another character that comes in that he's like really deeply discussing why this why this matters, why this is relevant. And it's because of that the whole middle part of the film, which is unfortunately the majority of the film, is just kind of a slog, right? And then you get to the end, and the end is kind of cool, and you get some sense of like what's happening there. And the very ending, like the last 10 seconds, and when it kind of ends, you're like, oh, okay, I get it. And I left on a note of like, okay, like I get what they're going for with the message. I get the film. I think it's a really cool, ambitious, experimental kind of film. It almost reminded me of, Skinamarink, except for like we actually see things, right? Because it is about like childhood fears and memories and whatever. Not shot in that style at all. I don't want you to think it is.
No, it's not.
But yeah, I told her that, and she was like, "Yeah, I was thinking the same thing." That this kind of has vibes like that. So, that for me is like the biggest issue with the film, is just like the majority of the film is boring.
Yeah, it was boring, and I really liked the ending a lot, and I do love that it's a family, because it does feel so personal, and I think that it probably has some really great meaning for them. But yeah, I just think that for like, I think you already said it really well, being invited over to somebody's house to watch like their home videos, unless you're like friends with that person or like dating them or something. And even when you're friends with them, it's like, I think that you have to be in a really specific like kind of mindset for that to be entertaining and like interesting. And so,
but the person watching it with you, who was there, who has like
they
nostalgia, and they feel it. Yeah, right.
Well, they'll fill you in on context, or like tell you like, oh yeah, like that happened because then this and this and this or whatever. So you get more of like the bigger picture. But there's very, very little dialogue in this film from the main character. A lot of the dialogue that we get is from the past, like the home video that we're watching, and another character. There is a little bit, but it's very, very, very sparse, which isn't a bad thing. But it's just, it does make the film very experimental and artsy, and I think that that was probably the intention of the film, was to make it in this style. So I think for some people, I think like if you're somebody who is super into Skinamarink, I think that this is going to be a comparable film for you.
But not scary.
Not scary, but like comparable in like how impactful it'll probably feel. But for me, like it is weird. I like really appreciate the film, but I also didn't really like the film and was bored by it. So it's a really weird, really combination. But I think that there's passion behind it, which is really evident, and I really value that. And obviously, anytime we like see movies made by families, it's always like really inspiring, and it's really cool to see like generations of people like making something, especially like this with the themes and everything. And I did like the like, I like the way that the whole like the old footage is combined with and like we've already said, the concept is really cool and very unique, and one that we've even talked about before. So I love all of that. But in terms of like, did I get a lot out of it? Not really. Like as far as the story goes.
Sure, and you get a real sense of like what they were going for here right as it ends, because it like dedicates it to a bunch of people who died.
Sure.
Right, it has all their names on the screen. So this is about like, the past and memories, and your attachment to it, and how things hold specific places in your heart and all that. Like I get the film. It's not that, you know, for a weirder experimental type of film, a lot of the times I feel like I don't know what the hell's going on here. Now, what he finds inside the camcorder, that's all I'll say. It's later in the movie. That I don't understand. That one I'm kind of lost on. I think I might have an idea, but nor here nor there at the moment. But yeah, it is on Screambox if you want to check it out. It is short.
Yes.
But you know, who knows? You might resonate with it. You might connect. If that sounds like something up your alley, if that sounds boring to you, it's going to be boring to you.
Yeah.
If it sounds like pretentious or something, then yeah, you're probably going to be like, I hate this film. So it's not for everybody, but I do think it has its audience, and I think a large part of that audience is probably the people who made it. Which I don't know. I kind of like love. Yeah. Because I'm sure they're like, no, this is super important to us.
Yeah.
And we love it. And it's like, fantastic. That's awesome. And I get why.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So that's it. Let us know if you watch it. Any more?